words are really easy. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is good to be together on this Shabbat. We are not often in this room on a Friday night, but there's lots and lots of joyous things happening in our congregation and community, and so we're expecting lots and lots of people. That doesn't mean you have to sit all the way in the back. Feel free to come closer. We are very excited to have our 6th grade students and parents here tonight as part of the 6th grade B'nai Mitzvah overnight, so welcome to you all. We are excited that you are praying with us and staying with us today. And we are excited that all of you are here. We are grateful for all of you who are joining us online as well. Now is a great moment to turn off your cell phone or anything that rings or jingles that might distract you. And also we want to make sure that you're aware that the family room, which is across from the chapel, is available for young children who need a break. 6th graders don't count. And their parents or parents who need to feed. So that is available to you. And we are also excited this Shabbat because Mila and Reeve are becoming Benot Mitzvah tomorrow morning, and they will lead our congregation in prayer a little bit later. And now we are going to invite the two of them up along with their parents, Lindsay and Jordan, and Yana and Vladimir, to light the Shabbat candles, which can be found on page 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
And as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives.
Bless all who enters the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings in their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
You're going first.
Baruch atah Adonai
There's a poem by Kaveh Akbar, which opens with the line, "It's been January for months in both directions." I feel like it's been January for months in both directions. This has been the longest January I can remember. And in those times when the days and weeks and months seem long and challenging and difficult, those are the times when I am most grateful for Shabbat. Those are the times when I am most grateful for the spaciousness that comes from this gift that we get every week, this gift of Shabbat. And so we are going to continue welcoming Shabbat with the words of Lechu Neranana, which can be found on the screen.
Lechu Neranana, Ya Lai 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 Lai, L'Adonai, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Nahariya, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Letzur Yishenu, Ya Lai 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 Lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear her song. Lechu Neranena, Ya Lai 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 Lai, L'Adonai, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Nahariya, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Letzur Yishenu, Ya Lai 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 Lai. For all of the wonder in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu Neranena, Ya Lai 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 Lai, L'Adonai, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Nahariya, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Letzur Yishenu, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Ya Lai 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 Lai, Ya Lai 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 Lai. We turn in our books to page 20, where we find Lecha Dodi, which helps us welcome in Shabbat. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and when we get to 9, we rise and face the entrance as we welcome in Shabbat like a bride. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat, Nekabila. Shamor v'zachor b'divurecha, ki hishmi'anu el hamiuchai. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha
While we are standing, having greeted the Sabbath bride, let's take a moment to greet each other, turn to the people around you, wish them Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know them, introduce yourselves.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm gonna seat. After Baruch Hu.
We're on page 28 for Baruch Hu. Yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai.
Please be seated. The Hebrew word erev means evening. It comes from a root which means mixing, because it's the time when darkness and light intermingle. It's a time of uncertainty. Familiar objects lose their shape. We cannot differentiate between stranger and friend. But it is also a time of creativity and possibility. The rigid binaries and stringent labels lose their hold on us, and we can explore who we truly are and who we need to be. Rabbi Reuben Zellman wrote a beautiful reinterpretation of the Ma'ariv Aravim, playing with its image of twilight as a time of mixing. He talks about sacred in-between, where we can soften our judgments and widen our vision. Rabbi Zellman dedicates his prayer to the twilight people, which is fitting for the first out transgender rabbi ordained by our Reform movement. This prayer is for all of us, but especially for the people who transcend labels, the transgender and non-binary among us. I've been worried about our twilight people this past few weeks, as attacks on their identities, on their rights, on their safety have come at a staggering pace. These discriminatory policies are downright dangerous. Here in Texas, 42% of transgender children have seriously considered suicide, and we know that these policies will only serve to alienate and isolate more kids and put them in danger of bullying and self-harm. We cannot accept that. For the transgender and non-binary kids and adults in our community, I want you to know that this synagogue stands with you. We will stand with kids who affirm their gender. We'll stand with parents who support and care for them. We'll stand with medical professionals who give these kids the care they need. I want you to know that we strive to be an affirming and safe space for people of all gender identities and expressions to experience the feeling of sacred belonging. I especially want our kids to know that you are welcome here, that you are loved here, that we believe you are B'Tselem Elohim, made in God's image, especially when you are being your truest self. And that we need you here because you teach us how to move through the twilight with pride. So for our Ma'ariv Aravim prayer this evening, we offer the Twilight People Prayer by Rabbi Reuben Zellman. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight, For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and nones. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscrossed paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define. We can always say a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'aravi.
Page 32 for Ahavat Olam. Please be seated. We invite Mila up to lead us in the Ve'ahavta, which can be found on page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavevcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivteha b'vitecha uvlekteha b'derech uvshokbeha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uvtavtam al muzuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתיהם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Page 39. We pray together at the top of the page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Page 40. So now we turn to our Hashkivenu prayer, a prayer that asks for a Sukkot Shlomecha, a shelter of peace. Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu, l'chaim, l'chaim. Join me. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu, l'chaim, l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu, l'chaim, l'chaim. May you shelter us in peace until the morning comes. May you lay us down with love, and may you raise us up. Hashkivenu
We come now to the Amidah, which begins on page 46, and we'll invite Reeve up to lead us and you to rise in body or spirit.
Adonai, Adonai, sifatati tu via gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu be'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Behanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bikonei Hakol, Bezocher Hasdei Avot V'imachot, Umevi Geula Livnei Benehem, Limon Shemo Bi'ahava, Melech Ozer Umashia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Tarav Leoshia, Mashiv Harua Umarida Gashem, Mehalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Beroi Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umito Melah, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiya Yeshua, and Amanata Hayotako. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye Hakol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Vdoshim b'chol yom Yachalu Chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. We've had all this rain this week, which I guess is a nice break from the snow. And it made me think of this poem called Shoulders by Naomi Shihab Nye. It imagines a man crossing the street with his sleeping child in his arms, cradling him from the rain. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ears fill up with breathing. He hears the hum of the boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with each other. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. As we prepare to pray for peace, we turn to page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov Beinecha Levarech Et Amcha Yisrael B'chol Eit u'b'chosha B'shalom Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim
In the middle of page 61, don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and making musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. We take a few moments now for silent prayer and gratitude.
Adonai Tzuri V'Goali. May the words of my mouth, and the meditations of my heart, be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehu liratzon imrifi. V'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali.
We turn our thoughts to Israel and offer a prayer for peace, not just the peace of temporary ceasefire, but a strong and lasting peace. We read these words by Rabbi Karen Kedar. We gather together in faith and with hope to pray for peace and for the safety of the people of Israel and all peoples of the earth together. Help us, O Holy One, and protect us in our hour of need. Touch our hearts, lest they harden with despair. Guide our thoughts, lest they are overcome with fear. Bring healing to the wounded, strength to those in mourning, courage to those in fear, wisdom to those who lead. Yedid Nefesh, beloved one, reveal yourself and fill the world with your light. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Be quick, God of love, for the time has come. Have mercy upon us, eternal one of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom. And now we turn our hearts to those in our lives and in community who are in need of healing. We think of all of the people whose pains and illnesses we see and know, and also all those whose pains and illness we can never see and never know. Those who struggle with chronic illness and chronic pain, those who struggle with addiction, and those who are in recovery. We send our prayer also to the caregivers who offer something of themselves each and every day in the search of refuah shlema, of wholeness. We're praying tonight for Marcia Block and Marty Block, Kathy Borden, Marie Bryant, Melba Berman, Mary Campbell, Eileen Sersansky, Robert Cohn, Stephanie Cousins, Kathy Ellinger, Al Eisenberg, Benjamin Gibson, Marcine S. Goldman, Sidney Greenblatt, Jerry Halfant, Robin Hodgkins, Christina Howard, Pat Cass Pitts, Sharon Kahn Stamey, Simon Kim, Watley Langham, Lawrence Levy, Vicki Samuels Levy, Betsy Lewis, Samuel Lewis, Linda Longnecker, Mary Madrigal, David Marcus, Diane Marcus, Karen Mendonça, Stuart Miller, Louis Myers, Ron Nodler, Sherry Penner, Magdalene Pessin, Rufina Poso, Max Pasternak-Rychek, Neil Reisman, Sidney Rogan, Samantha Rosenthal, Jennifer Schultz, Steve Schwartz, Kenneth Silk, Edward Simmons, Bob Stein, Rana Train, Laura Margaret Winthrop, Yvonne Zients, Ariella Sharon Bat Yafa Shoshana, Gelka Nechama Bat Lebachaya, Levi Ben Yaakov Yitzchak, Sarah Bat Yehuda Leib, Shimshon Ben Fagel, Yehoshua Matityahu Ben Yaakov V'Chana, and all who are suffering with afflictions of body, mind, and spirit. We offer these words of healing and wholeness on page 253.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
A few brief announcements for this Shabbat. First of all, once again, welcome to our sixth graders and their families. We are so glad to have you here, sprinkled throughout the room. Our dinner will be in the multi-purpose room after tonight's service, so we'll meet you there. Tomorrow, we have our 10:30 chapel service, followed by our monthly Shmooze and Schmear, our complimentary bagel breakfast in the boardroom. No RSVP required, so even if you didn't sign up, you can come. This coming Tuesday, February 4th at 7:30 p.m. is the second installment of our endowment speaker series. Author Mati Friedman will cover themes of misinformation and selectively withholding facts as it relates to Israel and the practice of journalism, misconceptions about Israeli politics, why the war in Gaza is so different, etc., etc. He's an expert. You're going to want to come. It's going to be fascinating. We hope you will sign up, and he will be signing copies of his book at a meet and greet afterwards. And on February 18th at 7 p.m., we hope you'll join us for a screening of the documentary film Zuravsky v. Texas, followed by a call to action and postcarding in partnership with Texas Impact. This documentary explores the first women who sued the state of Texas after Texas's abortion ban. It is a fascinating film. It will be a fascinating conversation. We hope you'll join us for that. That's February 18th. More information about all those events is available on our website. This is a sculpture by Indara Freitas Johnson called Peacemaker. She takes the words of Isaiah, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks," and makes them quite literal, turning actual weapons into farming equipment. As you can see in the picture, it's still possible to identify some of the weapons, to see the trigger in the pitchfork or the gun stock in the rake. This is what I thought of when I chose those words we prayed earlier after Shalom Rav, where Yehuda Amichai says, "Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares, don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first." This short poem by Yehuda Amichai is one that I love because he wants us to beat the weapons until they are unrecognizable, until no trace of their original purpose is detectable. And no longer will they be tools at all, neither tools of destruction or production, rather they will be instruments of celebration. This, to Amichai, is the work of peace. Yehuda Amichai was one of Israel's most recognized poets. Born in Würzburg, Germany in 1924, he grew up in an Orthodox and Zionist home speaking both German and Hebrew. His family immigrated to Mandate Palestine when he was 11. During World War II, he volunteered with the British Army and fought with the Palmach during the War of Independence. He also served in the Sinai War of 1956 and the Yom Kippur War in 73. So he knew a thing or two about instruments of war and peace. In his poetry, he is both one of the great lovers of Israel and also its critic. He understood Israel to be at the intersection of history, a land deeply rooted in the past, but also struggling with questions of modernity. He uses his poetry to call attention to the everyday people, their struggles and tribulations, and to elevate them to the level of religious holiness that he believed they deserved. And a theme he comes back to over and over is peace. It's not always the abrupt, clattering peace of beating swords into plowshares. It's often much less violent. In one of my favorite poems, he describes peace as a wildflower. He writes, "A peace without the big noise of beating swords into plowshares, without words, without the thud of heavy rubber stamps. Let it be light, floating like lazy white foam, a little rest for the wounds, who speaks of healing. And the howl of the orphans is passed from one generation to the next, as in a relay race the baton never falls. Let it come like wildflowers, suddenly, because the field must have it, wild peace." In another poem, he describes the smell of his newborn son as the smell of peace. "My child is fragrant with peace. His mother's womb promised him what even God himself cannot promise us." I hear echoes of this peace in the poem by Naomi Shihib Nye that I also read in the Amidah this evening. The peace that is a father carrying his sleeping son across the street in the rain, gently, protectively, as if the words "fragile, handle with care" were written on the boy's back. She writes, "We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another." Naomi Shihib Nye was born in 1952 in Ferguson, Missouri, to an American mother and a Palestinian father. When she was 14, her family moved to the West Bank, which was then a part of Jordan, to care for her ailing grandmother. After less than a year, shortly before the Six-Day War, they moved back to the U.S., settling in San Antonio. Nye's poetry is a poetry of wandering, often describing the experience of her travels, of her memories of her childhood. Hers is a poetry of restlessness, longing for roots and home. Like Amichai, she writes of the everyday, describing her experiences in simple and accessible language. She served as the chancellor of the Academy of American Poets from 2010 to 2015. In an interview for Tablet magazine, she tells an incredible story. She says that years ago, and here are her words, "I was in Jerusalem for the International Writers' Festival. One morning I was walking down a street in Jerusalem. This distinguished, elegant human being turned to me and said, 'I'd like you to come to my home for breakfast right this minute.' He was staring at my name tag. I'd forgotten to take it off. It was Yehuda Amichai. I nearly fainted. I said, 'I'm honored to meet you. Thank you for your poems.' He said, 'Where are you going? My home is a few blocks away. My wife is there. Come, let's eat breakfast.' Needless to say, nobody expects an unplanned breakfast guest at 7:45 a.m., but Nye says that her hosts were both gracious and that they drank coffee and ate scrambled eggs and beautiful pita bread. Over breakfast, they talked about what Israelis call the matzav, the situation between Israelis and Palestinians. Amichai lived with daily anxiety because they had a son in the army. Nye said, "I can understand because my family in the West Bank lives with daily anxiety as well." They talked about her father's home, from which he had been expelled in 1948. Amichai took a particular interest here. He said how painful it was to consider that story having happened to so many people, to see something that wasn't yours be taken by someone who says, "It's mine now. Disappear, please." Nye says that Amichai was curious about all aspects of her life, her father's work, her childhood. She says, "I'm not surprised by this because that's the job of poets, to pay attention and to be curious about others." They also talked about Hannah Block, Amichai's longtime English translator and Nye's dear friend and a great poet in her own right. Nye says, "She and I were frequently invited to present together because people were interested in having a Jewish American and an Arab American talking together. And we loved each other and we were such good friends, so talk about the ongoing trauma of Palestine and Israel came naturally to us. It was always gracious. When we spoke in Houston, people said to us, 'You seem like sisters.' And we said, 'We are.' That's the tragedy of the story." I know that the war in Gaza is not over, that the ceasefire is temporary and incomplete. I know that there are still Israelis sitting in captivity, and I know that there are still innocent Gazans waiting to return home. But for the first time in a year and a half, I feel like I have a little bit of space in my heart to think not just of short-term ceasefire, but of long-term peacemaking. And it's stories like these of Amichai and Nye and Block that give me the words to describe a tomorrow that is better than yesterday. To forge a lasting peace will take more than words. It's more than even the most beautiful poetry can muster. But words are a start, and listening is a start. In this week's Torah portion, in the long dark night of the 10th plague, after the angel of death has done his terrible work, the Torah tells us, "And Pharaoh arose in the night with all his courtiers and all the Egyptians, because there was a loud cry in Egypt, for there was no house where there was not someone dead." There is a loud cry still in Israel and Gaza. No home has been spared from the loss and tragedy of the last 467 days. No house that has not been shaken by grief and loss and terror. And all I know is that liberation cannot happen, will not happen, until we in our village and they in theirs can hear each other's cries. It cannot just be the job of poets to listen to others. It will take all of us if we are to move from instruments of war to instruments of music. When we see on everyone's children a sign marked, fragile, handle with care. Nye ends the interview with one additional story. She writes, "As I was leaving his home, Yehuda Amichai insisted on giving me his collection of love poems in Hebrew, which he signed to me in English. I don't speak Hebrew, but was honored to have this gift. When leaving the country at Tel Aviv airport, I was receiving the usual special treatment reserved for Arabs or half Palestinians who've spent time in the West Bank with their families. It was not pretty. While ransacking my bag, a security guard pulled out Amichai's poems and said, "What is this book?" A book in Hebrew. He turned to the signature page and the warm inscription. He said, "How did you get this? Why do you have it?" I said that Amichai had invited me to breakfast and given it to me as a gift as I was leaving. He motioned to the other interrogators. "She can go now. Put the things back in the case." Nye calls this story poetry to the rescue. And I hope the poetry can rescue us. I think that poetry is a vessel of hope. And I think that poetry is a seed. We look at a seed and we cannot know what it will grow into, but we plant it anyway, and we tend to it, and we hope it grows into a garden. Naomi Shihib Nye and Yehuda Amichai, they write poetry that plants a seed of hope, with the thought that maybe it will grow like wildflowers, wild peace. I want to end tonight with a prayer for peace in the form of one more poem. It's the poem that Naomi Shihib Nye wrote after their breakfast. May these words plant in us the seed of hope that we will need to navigate the days and years to come. It's called Double Peace. If I try to be like him, who will be like me? A Yiddish proverb. Not for him and his people alone, but for all who loved that rocky land. Everybody sing it. No chosen and unchosen, but everybody chosen. Sing it. All families living under tiled rooftops or flat roofs with strung clotheslines, t-shirts, bed sheets, flags of surrender. I show you my cloth. I live the way you live. All the cousins, second cousins, extra cousins, unknown cousins. No choice, everyone a cousin. Peace better than hurtful moves. Better, sing it. Not rain that fell on a few houses only. Not sun that shone on a few favored yards. Not air in small containers only for some lungs. Double peace multiplied. Outside, inside, every ancient space, every sleek new room with tall windows, peace for sheep and goats grazing in meadows. They already have it. Peace for buckets waiting on doorsteps. Peace in brown eggs lined on counters waiting to be cracked. Peace in skillets and spatulas. We met at the corner. We went to his home for breakfast. He said, "I would never have taken your father's home. I could never have lived in a stolen Arab home." The great voice of the Jewish people said this to my face. Our conversation, where streets converged. Baruch atah Adonai, Mishorer HaShalom. Blessed are you, God, poet of peace. Shabbat Shalom. We continue now with Aleinu L'Shabeach, which can be found at the bottom of page 286. Please rise in body or spirit. 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, lateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kichol hamonam, v'anachnu קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ביום ההוא
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. We take a few moments for silent memory. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Our sympathy goes out to the families of Sandy Lim Gordon and Leslie Ellen Aronson, who were laid to rest in recent days. We also recall the art sites that fall at this season of Emmanuel Bender, Anne Berkowitz, Sam Bernhout, Thomas Birmingham, Esther Friedman Blonstein, Sarah Breitman, Alexander Brodsky, Bertha Brody, Nathan Brown, Rosalind Canfield, Irving Chandler, Louis Coburn, Seymour Slugger Cohen, Jeanette Cohen, Betty Cohen, Molly Zax Davis, Lillian Davis, Jerry Dibner, Mitch Ettinger, Lee Farb, Lala Fagelson, Jake Fradkin, Sidney S. Frank, Samuel Friedlander, Abraham Haskell Frosch, Daniel W. Furman, David Gabe, I.H. Gardner, Rachel Henrietta Groner, Annette Harris, Ronald B. Harwood, Julia Hayes, Samuel L. Joachim, Herbert M. Joachim, Zachariah Joseph, Aaron Kalmans, Hortense Kamen, George Kamens, Conrad Connie Kaplan, Irvin D. Kaplan, Samuel Kaplan, Milton Kardish, Murray Claff, Isidore Kleiman, Sarah Cole, Joseph Kramer, Sanford I. Lack, David Ira Lampy, Esther Gelfand Levine, Jacob Loeb, Charlotte Alter Lobel, Len Stewart Mendelowitz, Stuart B. Miller, Sarah Miller, Sheila Newar, Esther Balfour Oshman, Sarah Panter, Evelyn Bernhout Perlmutter, Esther Hirsch Perstein, Esther Pianin, Pearl Ray Plotkin, William Travis Plumley, Hilda Pohl, Milton Samuel Popkin, Albert Riloff, Pauline Rosenau, Jack J. Rush, Ethel Barnett Shine, Tamra Shine, Daniel Schlanger, Mary Schultz, Arthur B. Schellist, Eva Siegel, Selma Silverblatt, Michael Spillane, Harvey Stallero, Melvin Joseph Stolman, Abraham Isaac Tepper, Jean Daly Vogelfang, Judith Wagner, Lillian Weiss, Eva Brand Wilkenfeld, Sidney Wingrad, Melvin Winslow, Frida Wolochin, Bobby Yaffe, and Mildred Zlotnick. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We turn to page 294 and rise in body or spirit together for the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'kadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divrach chirutei ve'al michmal chutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam omei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Amen.
Please be seated as we transition from Kaddish to Kiddush. We'll invite Mila and Reeve back up along with their siblings, Ledger and Sasha, to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'ratzah banu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh, zeher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki banu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim v'shabbat Sheha be'ahava uratzon hinhaltanu baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim. Have a sip. It's juice.
Oh, okay, good.
It's beautiful challah. Ready for motzi?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz. Amen.
You can take some challah.
Share some challah off, share some siblings.
And then you guys can have a seat. And so we're going to conclude our service with this prayer that welcomes the angels for Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem. This setting by Debbie Friedman, the last verse, we usually sing Tzeitchem as we wish the angels peace as they leave us, but Debbie changed it to Shuvchem, let the angels return to us. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem, Boachem Leshalom. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, melech malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shalom aleichem, shalom aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shuvchem, Shuvchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Please rise for the closing benediction. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. In the moments where words fail us, help us to listen. Help us to listen to each other. Help us to listen to our hearts. Help us to listen to you. And in the moments where we cannot carry ourselves, may we feel as though we are being carried, held, and protected as we move through challenging times into brighter tomorrows. We thank you for the many blessings in our lives, and we say together, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Was it doing it? No, it was okay.